bringing you the latest news from Liberty Athletics. This is the Patriot Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back in. I'm Randy Rosetta. This is 100.7 The Score. It's the high school fan zone. We're finally back on a Monday. We haven't been here the last couple of Mondays because of this man's school. Not just his team, but the girls played on a Monday. They played on a Monday, which I totally didn't mind getting bumped off because I got to watch good basketball games both nights. Liberty Patriots have played two really good games. I posted an interview on HubCpreps.com with two of their guys today, and that's what the headline said is you guys have played two really good games against two good teams, Parker, to get to the third round. A lot of attached to both games. Parker Hicks, by the way, to my left, the third-year Liberty boys coach whose team is in the regional round tomorrow night, 6 p.m. at Wayland Baptist Hutcherson Center against Pampa. You guys, those first two wins were the first two in school history. There was a lot attached to each game that I thought your guys handled well. First of all, they played Glen Rose in the first round, team that knocked them out on the last-second shot, played really well against them. Oddly enough, the number 9 ranked team goes into the second round as almost an underdog against Peaster, against Crum. And that game was close for about a quarter and 2 possessions. And I remember writing about it. One of your guys, I can't remember, there was a possession where it had gone back and forth. You guys, it was Mr. Energy off the bench, Cy Leach, I think, stole the ball. You guys got the lead. I think you took off on a 13-0 run or something like that and really never looked back. So your guys have handled the challenges of those two kind of games. I remember, was it after the Crum game when I asked you, told you I didn't know what to ask because you guys played so well, and I think you were just about as stunned too. Have these guys surprised you with what they've done just in these first two games in the playoffs?
Yes and no. Yes, just because, no matter how far we go, it's waters we haven't been in. Mm-hmm. And, in any sport, I think back to the first year at Liberty, I think we went 3 rounds deep in baseball. 4 rounds deep.
4 rounds deep,
so, and we don't have any of those guys. And so to be in uncharted waters, you never know as a coach kind of how we're going to respond. Crum last year played in the state semifinal game, and the regional favorite, according to lots of outside media around the Metroplex and stuff. And so you never know as a coach, but at the same time that I'm not surprised because I've seen them work for a year and just remember what we wanted as a group, and to see them excel now is really fun to watch.
And it's gotten a little redundant for me to write about, which is not a bad thing for you guys. But the thing about you guys is that you can't focus on one guy. The first playoff game, Glen Rose tried to take Jackson Funk and Tookie Johnson away, and other guys just stepped up and did things. And then Jackson's, I think he had 10 or 11 rebounds. Mm-hmm. Tookie had 6 or 7 assists, so they just find something different to do. It's almost like a little kid at Christmas getting bored with one thing and going to play with something different.
Yeah, and I think I've probably said it a lot too, but, Coleman leads us in scoring against Glen Rose, and then Pierce leads us in scoring against Crum. And so I think that's what can make it or makes us dangerous is you can attempt to take 2 or 3 guys out, but, we have guys that step up, and Pierce has played really well in this playoff run, and we bring guys off the bench that you call the energized, but that's what they are, and they just want to win, and you see that. And so it's been real fun these first 2 games to see us be able to win the way we did and not have our 2 leading scorers lead us in scoring, and this time of year it's all about who's playing best, and right now, those guys are playing well, and I hope it can continue into tomorrow night.
And those 2 guys that haven't scored as much, they still scored. Yeah. I think Tookie still had 17 and
Jackson had 16.
So they've still scored, still contributed, and they couldn't care less. It's like, no, let's just go
get
find
the
a way to win.
Yeah, and that's what
a good team is.
Yes, and that's what we can kind of go on going forward is it don't matter who's doing it as long as we have more at the end of the day on the scoreboard. That's what we're looking for.
And we haven't even mentioned Jaden Ellis. He just goes out and shuts somebody down every night.
Yeah, he's got the biggest role. He may not do all the scoring like the other guys, but every night he's on their best player. And, any basketball athlete knows that's a challenge every night because, you're going to have to be at your best defensively. And he's a kid that's came a really long ways in his 2 years, and we're just thrilled to still be around the kid and seeing him grow as a person, and his role and his leadership has really taken off. And for him to buy in and understand that he's our best on-ball defender and that's his job is really fun to watch.
And he had his hands full the other day against the kid from Crum, Dorgabator, or I'm not sure how.
Yeah,
Brian, the older one.
There you go.
And he came out and he had some stuff that was working, and I'm trying to think, at one point he just stepped back and just stuck a three. Just a player making a play. Other thing about your guys, they're very patient. They don't let that bother them. They it's like a football guy, just get up and play the next play. That guy tried to make a move on Luke at one point, and I was talking to your other guys about that. I think he thought he was going to get Luke to move.
He didn't.
Luke doesn't move very well. You're not going to move
stout.
Luke very well.
I would agree. But, that goes back. I think we have a really good player in our district that got us ready for that game.
Right.
We compared to him and Shakur a lot.
Yep.
I think that kid from Crum is a little bit taller, but as far as skill set, they were very, very similar. And that's kind of the message we send is we've seen players like this before, if not better. And so we shouldn't let one player just jaw drop us. It's going to take a collective team and group to beat us. And I think that was another showcase on Friday is he can have 26 or whatever he had, but the next leading scorer is 10, and that's the kind of difference between us and Crum on Friday was we had 21, 17, 16, and they had 26 and 10, so.
And I'm going to look it up while we're looking. I covered those two games. You guys have had a ton of assists, and I know analytics will tell you some stats don't matter. To me, assists, offensive rebounds are still pretty important statistics in basketball, and you guys have piled up a bunch of that. Tells me your guys want to. I think I heard somebody say this the other day. So you can do that to a fault, but your guys are not doing it to a fault. They're finding the open guy, the best guy to have a shot at that time. So coming up on a break, we'll talk more because the Patriots already know if they take care of business Tuesday, they know there's another challenge ahead. They know who it is. So. I'm Randy Rosetta. This 100.7 Score. It's the Patriot Fan Zone.
Diving headfirst into Liberty Athletics. You're listening to the Patriot Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back into the Patriot Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score. I'm Randy Rosetta with Parker Hicks, who's got a team in the regional round tomorrow night, Tuesday night, 6 p.m. at the Hutcherson Center. That's a place that I've been to just a few times, being married to a Plainview girl. The last time, I'm trying to think if this is correct. Last time I think I covered a game there. I don't know if you guys will have as many people as there was the last time. That was
the
Monterey Amarillo.
Yep.
And they had to turn people away starting at like 4:30 in the afternoon. It was a pretty fun, pretty wild environment. I hope you guys have a lot of people. I hope that you guys had a great crowd on your side the other day. Mm-hmm. And I meant to mention this to the two players I talked to. What's really cool is, listen, Liberty is in Lubbock, Texas. We're a town of 300,000 people, but your games feel small town because those kids interact with you. You can tell that the senior class, the junior class, they really love each other.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what makes this place special is, yes, like you said, we're in a town of 300,000, but we're our own little community within.
Yep.
And it's not very big yet, but we get great support from everybody. Our admin the other day got a spirit bus and took a bunch of students, got them out of class. You see parents of kids that aren't playing basketball that are there supporting either their friends and parents or whatever it might be. And so for us to be in Plainview, 45-ish minutes away, and we're hoping we can bring a good crowd tomorrow night and kind of use that in our favor because it'll be the closest we'll be for the rest of the year. We'll be east the rest of the time, and so hopefully we can get some people that come see us one last time and make that place a fun environment.
And you want to keep getting further away. That's the goal.
Get away from Lubbock.
Yep. That's nothing wrong with Lubbock, but this time of year, if you're a basketball coach and basketball player, there's some Central Texas places you'd like to visit.
Absolutely.
So, where did you play when you at Decatur? Did you get to state tournament?
We didn't. We lost in the regional quarterfinals. When I was in Decatur, we were Region 2. So our first round was the Dallas ISD, and we won our district. won their first round in double overtime, won our second round 101-37, and then played Dallas Lincoln in the third round, and Lincoln goes on and wins state that year. But, yeah.
You came here when you were young, right? Younger, freshman, sophomore?
My freshman and sophomore year, we were Region 1. Abilene Wiley got us my sophomore year in the second round. But it's the furthest I've been as far as title of the round. Still third round, but I've never been to a regional semifinal.
So. And you're experiencing this the first time along with you guys, so that's pretty cool.
Yep.
Do they understand yet the history they've made? I remember talking to Morgan about her girls, and it didn't really register with them what they exactly had accomplished.
I don't think so. And whether they do or not, I don't care as long as they show up and play. I think reality will hit. If not tomorrow, definitely the next round, because now you're playing for a trip to state, which is crazy for me to say. And so I hope it hits them because, like you said, it's a historic deal, and it don't happen very often, for teams or even coaches. And so to be in the category of what I referred to as a Sweet 16 and then potentially the Elite 8 and then potentially the Final Four, I think is something these guys and really Liberty will never forget. So
they still do like the physical yearbooks, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
not too
my
old.
wife's the yearbook teacher.
Here we go. I'm not too old because that's where 25, 30 years from now, they'll be able to open up that yearbook and think, oh, look.
Oh, yeah.
They won't need to wait that long.
Knock the dust off of it.
There you go. I've still got, in fact, you may have seen the picture on social media one time. There's a picture of me at my high school state championship game. It was again, you get the home. Now, we went 30 minutes from Topeka to Lawrence, Kansas, a little bit easier. But it's a great memory for your school. I'll take that sophomore year, or their sophomore year, your volleyball girls and the baseball guys, that kind of set the stage. That kind of, Lamar and Caitlin they put the bar up there pretty high pretty quick for your school. And now other sports are starting to kind of figure out that, hey, it's pretty cool to accomplish this.
Yeah, and I think it's credit to the kids. They want to taste what those other kids tasted, and for them to have the opportunity to do that, I think is special, and I think that's hopefully what's keeping us locked into this thing is how cool it is, and we're playing Pampa tomorrow, but half the time we're playing ourselves, we're playing for a spot in the Elite 8 and the regional finals, whatever it might be, and so I keep telling those guys, you got to approach it like it's your last, regardless of the opponent, and we've been able to do it well this year, and so hopefully we can do it again tomorrow.
Speaking of Lamar, that dude's a big Liberty Patriot basketball fan because this week there's a big baseball tournament in town, the UMB Bank Classic. 3 baseball coaches were on before you. 4 baseball coaches will be on Wednesday. When I texted him, I'm like, I got to have Parker on. We got to talk about basketball. He's like, yeah. He was pumped up.
Well,
so
thanks, Coach Keller.
He's one of your biggest fans.
Well,
so
thanks.
We'll come back and talk a little bit more Patriot basketball after this break on 100.7 The Score.
Your inside look into Liberty sports. This is the Patriot Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back in. Liberty Patriots are in the regional round. They're 29-4. They play Pampa, which is 18-14. Pampa's got a ton of tradition going way back. In fact, we were just talking about some of the West Texas girls. In terms of step back and look, Pampa and Plainview and 4A boys, for a long time, that was it. I think Pampa with Rayford Young, I may have this the wrong direction.
Pampa with Young, wasn't Trey Young?
Ray Young, or Rayford Young. They won it. Plainview won it. I think they went back and forth a few years, so they know. You probably are glad you don't have to play up there. I've heard a lot of horror stories about playing up in their gym. So they're not going to just show up and let you guys have it. They're going to show up. We talked to your 2 guys today, and they talked about that they play a pretty decent 3-2 zone. You guys are the favorite. That's anybody who has seen you guys play and understands the district they're coming from. How do you make sure your guys understand they've got to go out and take care of business?
It's hard. That's what I've been. I've talked to coaches all weekend, and the coach in me will never relax. It don't matter if we're playing Pampa, Snyder, Big Spring. I'm always going to find the negative and sit on it, which probably isn't very healthy for me. But, Pampa's a team that's been in the third round the past 2 years. Regardless of record or regardless of who they've played and beat, they've been in the third round, and they've been in this position before. Last year in this game they played Crum and they're up 17 in the third, and it's scary as a coach because we so emotionally invested in Glen Rose after what they did to us,
right?
And then we're emotionally invested into Crum because of that number beside their name and who was picked to win the region. And so what can high school kids find the motivation of from Pampa, and other than I've been saying it over and over again, like we can still go home tomorrow. We can still be over with, and we can't let, Pampa be in the way of it. And I said, we got to worry about ourselves, and if we bring what we're supposed to be, we'll be okay. And it's all the other stuff that we worry about. And hopefully, like we talked about the crowd a second ago, if we have a good crowd, hopefully that will, kind of help us out and realize this is the real deal. And playing at a college venue I think will help a little bit because neutral site, but a little bit bigger neutral site, and so all the things. But hopefully we can at the end of the day realize that we're a mature team that have felt the heartbreak and how quickly it can be over, and not have what I would call a slip up tomorrow and get to play in a regional final at the end of the week.
So I'm going to violate every rule of what coaches do, and you're at arm's length so you can't reach out and smack me. The other side of that is if you guys take care of business, Brock's already beaten Randall today. So that's who would be waiting for you. You've played Brock once this year. I would think that's not going to be a problem. If you can take care of business, that getting your guys ready for that, not only because you've played them, they also beat Estacado in the first round, and that's going to be something your guys can directly relate to. So we'll talk about that afterwards. But from a motivational standpoint, I would think that one's a little bit different. But
absolutely. And then you're playing for a trip to state.
Yep, and that's
the other big one.
I don't know if I've asked you this. I've asked a few coaches. I asked Jill Snyder this. The fact that it'll still be a neutral site instead of going to one site with. You surprised me when you said you hadn't been there before. You've been there. I'll say what we talked about in the break here. Your wife's been there a few times.
Yep.
Being a Nazareth girl, she's like, this is old hat to her. Would you rather there be a site for semifinals championship game, or at this point I'm going to guess you'd go play on Mars if you get to the state semifinals?
You're right. I would play anywhere, but yes, I do wish it was. When I was in high school, our biggest goal, and I think a lot of teams' goal, is to make the regional tournament. And then if you're able to win the regional tournament, hey, you get to go play at the Alamo Dome. And that's what I think I wish would happen if hopefully we're in that boat, is just our guys having the chance to play at the Alamo Dome, and not saying we can't win our state semifinal game, but just so you're guaranteed a game there.
Yep.
And we get great support from our admin. There's been talks of maybe finding a neutral site that's different than Abilene, where that might be, I don't know, Wichita Falls or something like that. But for us to be in Abilene essentially for the 5 first rounds, it gets, I guess, as a player standpoint, you want to get to the next level, as far as venues and stuff. But at the same time, we've been successful at Abilene. Let's just ride that ship out, and like you said, we'll play on Mars if we have to play in a state championship. And so. Yeah, I do wish there was one, just because, it's a pretty special deal to get down there. I haven't got to be a part of it, but I know several people have, and I've had guys on staff that have been there. And just to get to the state tournament is, I think, a pretty special feeling. And even if we're able to get to the state semifinal game, it don't feel like the state tournament quite yet. So,
but I bet you don't. Like I said, I bet you would like to know what that feels like.
Oh, absolutely.
Joe Sexton and Max Hatwick will need zero advice from me. But what I thought was cool at the Monterey girls last year is they went to Abilene 3 times, but they played at all 3.
Abilene.
Like they didn't play at the same place once. They played at all 3 universities, so they got a little bit of a different feel. So. I have a feeling that we'll be talking. There will be more reason to talk about that. I think I have a hunch that the Patriots will take care of business tomorrow. I'll be there, and we'll definitely have something to talk about regardless. So, come back Wednesday. We'll talk more baseball and the UMB Classic on the High School Fan Zone. I'm Randy Rosetta. This is 100.7 The Score.